All right, it's Z-Day. Fridays, as I mentioned before, they're gonna be the new Z-Day. So I'm gonna work on the Lincoln Zephyr every Friday. That's my little goal, I should say, to keep picking away at the 3-window conversion. So this is a 1939 Lincoln Zephyr 4-door that I'm converting into a 3-window coupe. If you wanna get technical, it's a 4-window coupe because the back window is a split window. So what we're gonna do first, and in this video, is we're gonna get, there's Kitsune. What are you doing? Sniffing around? Hey girl? Yes. Interrupted my video. First thing we're gonna do today is we're gonna get these doors trimmed apart, drill out a bunch of spot welds, remove some of the inner bracing, and start extending the front doors using part of the rear doors to make our 3-window coupe door. That is this video. Thanks a lot for being here. Don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications. I really appreciate it. Let's get into it, guys. Well, I took the door off. I tried to heat it up and mess with the pins and just wasn't working. If I spent more time on it, it would have worked fine, I'm sure. But to be honest, I'm impatient and I am not using the front hinges because I'm gonna go suicide doors with this car. And now I'm committed because I cut the hinges. I sat there for 10 minutes. It wasn't just like, oh, just cut them. I sat there for 10 minutes thinking about how some of you might be crying, and I cried a little cutting the original hinges because they're garbage now, basically. But it is what it is. I'm gonna suicide it, so I'm using the rear hinges, the rear hinge post, and we're putting these 2 doors together. What I wanna explain to you guys right now is that this isn't as easy as just cutting a little bit off each one and sticking them together. They won't fit like that, and the reason being is because the inner bracing of the door is not flat when the outside of the body is curved. This door is on a different angle than this door when they're closed. So that means that inner bracing is almost useless to me because it's going to end up with a kink in the door. So this cannot have a kink in it, obviously, or else it's gonna have, you know, major glass issues. I'll just show you, it's a little bit easier to see it here. These are the 2 angles of the door. This is the front door, and that's the rear door. See how they angled at the post. So that was the striker post in between the 2 doors. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by, I'm probably gonna reuse these braces because they're nice, but I'm gonna drill out the spot welds of the braces. I'm going to measure how far I need. It's 43.5 door skin edge to door skin edge. So I'm gonna basically just cut that in half. So what'll it be? 21 3/4. 21 inches and 3/4. I'm gonna mark that on the skin, give myself a little bit extra so that I can overlap and use those clecos that we've used in the past. And then I'm going to start marking and scribing the inside bracing. This is gone. Can't use it. It's not gonna be on the right angle. As well as this, like the outer skin has this edge where the door is, and because that's parallel with this, it's gonna have that kink in it. So I'll actually have to add a new edge to this once the door is complete. I'll have to add a new edge to this once the door is complete so that we have a parallel line that goes the full extension of the door. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm just gonna start by basically just dissecting the doors as to what we need and don't need, what we will use and reuse or not use, and just start marking it all out. We'll make some cuts, and hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have, you know, somewhat of a door. Okay, so I just kind of roughly laid out what I'm planning to do for the cuts, and I just wanted to explain it to you a little bit. So this is the front door of the passenger side. That is the rear door of the passenger side. So a lot of this structure I'm not going to use, mainly this right here. For now, like I'll probably end up making a new top piece, but I'm going to trim like this and around to keep this together because it's got this window channel in here. This is, you know, a straight edge that I can help clamp the two doors together. So I'm gonna allow, this is like an extra couple inches here. That's gonna be able to overlap this one on this door so that we'll be able to clamp that and adjust, and we'll be able to line this corner edge up straight because that is a straight line that I think we can trust. Now the bottom is gonna be a bit of a situation because it's got these hidden running boards. It's this thin, you know, little sheet metal roll that goes around the running boards. A lot of guys will weld that in, and I might do it, I'm not 100% yet, but if I wanted to keep it, then that's gonna have to change. I can't just use the back half because it changes in size like this. So I'll have to cut this whole piece off of the rear door, and I'll have to move a chunk of it up onto our extended front door to meet up with that. So that's gonna be a little bit of dissecting. That's why I'm going to cut the inner brace here, and I cut it right along here and down. You can see here, this is a structural piece that's overlapped, so that's right at a seam, and we're gonna just cut it along here and remove this piece from the situation for now. We'll have to put it back in later. But this is the rear door hinge post that would have been up against the quarter panel. And that is why I'm suicide dooring this, is because when I attach the rear of the rear door to the front of the front door, it's already got the hinges on it. I've already removed that post of the quarter panel, so if I put that post back in place right next to this door, it's already got the hinge portion done to suicide door this car. And I have definitely not seen a steel body Zephyr with suicide doors that looks factory like that. I mean, even if somebody did it, I don't care. I think that it'll be really cool. I just love suicide doors because when you open it, you open the door and step out forward instead of having to kind of pull yourself out backwards. Just something I like. And it'll be cool. So that's the next part, is just trimming it up. I'm gonna trim this window frame off. This will end up having to get tipped down. Keep in mind, this is the rear of the door, right? So that'll be tipped forward a little bit. We're gonna use probably chunks of this rear door window frame and chunks of the front door window frame to make our 3-window window frame. There's a lot of parts here that you can use. You don't have to buy a coupe to get coupe parts if you modify what's there. So it's a little bit more work than obviously if you found a set of coupe doors and found a coupe trunk lid, etc. But this is gonna be the fun part, is making all those pieces. Like I say, this is kind of irrelevant to me because right now your window regulator is kind of centered in the window. And if I were to leave this on here, then it would be offset once we've extended the door. So I'm gonna make a new structure here. That's not an issue. So I'm gonna definitely make a new structure there. So that's garbage, no matter what. The actual latching side of this will eventually have to be moved as well. So this is the rear door, and the hinges that we're gonna use, picture it on the car, that's the rear of the front, you know, like of the, the rear of the rear passenger door, which is gonna be our hinge part for suicide. So this structure of the door here, this piece that goes to this lip that has this latch in it, that has, you know, our alignment striker, the latch itself, that will need to be moved to the front of the front door because it's gonna be a suicide door. So I'm gonna have to move that piece right up to here, and we'll get to that eventually, but for now I'm gonna start cutting out this inner bracing, and then I'm leaving a little bit of excess so that I can fit it. And the same thing, I'm gonna flip these skins over, and I'm gonna trim the skins with an extra bit left on the skin so that I can overlap the two pieces and cleco them together and adjust it and fit it. I don't wanna be, you know, a precise measurement like I'm gonna weld it together right now, because it's really easy to cut it too short, and that's the worst thing. So I'm gonna leave them long and sort of cleco them together. This is what I mean when I say clecos. I've said it a couple times, so I'm just gonna show it to you. Where you can just drill a hole, 1/8 hole, and then when you squeeze it, that drops in. You can pop it into a 1/8 hole, and then it'll spread back out and pinch a piece of sheet metal. These are really handy tools, guys. If you don't have one, they're not expensive. They're worth their weight in gold because you're not, you know, you're not tack welding everything and cutting tacks all the time. You can just drill a hole through 2 pieces of sheet metal and hold it together. There's also all kinds of other clecos that that pinch, that, you know, do all sorts of things. So this is something you can get on Amazon, you can get it on Eastwood, you can get it on any aircraft supplier. This is normally from doing aircraft bodies where you're riveting everything, so they've got different sizes of these, so it's super handy. Anyway, I'm babbling on. I'm gonna get to doing some cutting on those doors, and okay, we got our initial cuts done. Haven't done anything really here other than just put 1 cleco in it, just right where they overlap. That is the door. So this is the back of the door where the hinges are. We're gonna have to tip this a little bit in, but we're not there yet. Right now, you can see we've got a little bit of an overlap here on purpose so that we can finagle it. There is some junk to be cleaned out, some undercoating, so we're gonna have to clean all this up next. But I just wanted to show you what what the door looks like. So it looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty decent. We're gonna have to use this part of the rear door. That's gonna have to go up there to be part of this hidden running board stuff there. Anyway, yeah, so it worked out nice. I'm happy with it. This is what we ended up cutting out of there. So you can see pretty well what's not being used. Like I said, those pieces, the inner structures there, we're gonna probably cut this all up. We're definitely gonna cut this all up to make our chopped 3-window side window. I'm definitely gonna use the latch mechanism and the latch end, like this whole piece here with the latch installed in it. That will be welded into the new door. But all in all, pretty stoked. It lines up decent. It's not perfect. The one thing that I noticed that it's kind of unfortunate is that this skin is not as long as this one. So it doesn't quite touch down there, which means I'm gonna have to build a little filler in here. Not a big deal, but something that I'm gonna have to do for sure. So I think what I'm gonna do next is just clean our weld seam, like both sides, make it really nice so that we can actually kind of dial it in and make sure that this body line is perfect. And once that body line is perfect, whatever's happening down here is gonna happen. Our most important thing to line up is this body line and then the flow from one panel to the next. I don't want any kind of sunken stuff here or any peaked stuff here. That is what I'm looking for. Make sure the body line is perfect and that that arc is gotta be right. Now I know that this is gonna end up being wrong. This here is gonna probably end up peaking a little bit. And this will be okay for now. This is just the inner structure there. We're just gonna weld that together or overlap it, clamp it, whatever. But that's probably gonna be usable, I guess. Then we have a place for our garnish molding to sit, which will be nice. I'm gonna go ahead and start with that. I'm gonna clean it all up, try and get it fit a little bit better. I'm gonna put it onto the car and just have a look at it. And that car looks so apart right now. Look at this thing. It's like, what are we doing? Are we making a boat? I don't know. Anyway, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I made this little gauge to make sure that this door has got the right amount of crown in it. And it's amazing how much it can change by being a little bit in or out, like the distance here. It can slide in or slide out and be the wrong measurement here so easily just by being in or out a little bit. So that's why I've got this propped up on the inside with a couple of spacers, just blocks in there. And that's giving me the correct crown in the door. And now I'm confident that I can scribe this line. That is incredibly crucial when you're doing something like this. You know, measuring and trimming and all that, that's everything. Welding it is not really a big deal. You know, if it's fit perfectly and tight gapped, then TIG welding sheet metal is relatively easy. It means a lot to be consistent is what I'm saying. So now I can be confident that my scribe line is perfect, then my cut can be perfect. That means that when I go to TIG it back together and tack this all the way down, it should be a really perfect gap, and I don't need to worry about lining anything up because the sheet metal will be perfect because we've done all this pre-planning. So I think I'm ready to do it. Roscoe, am I ready? Am I ready? What do you think? Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and scribe that line or Sharpie it. The Sharpie will be on this side. I'll trim right to the side of the Sharpie. Some guys don't like to use Sharpies. I think they're great as long as you know, watch what side of the line you're using to measure from. But yeah, I think that door looks awesome. It's lining up really well. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention is that at this stage, I'm not worried about the inner bracing. I'm not worried about this. Like I said before, this was for sure gonna have a peak in it because the inner bracing of the two doors were peaked. I showed you that on the floor. So what I'm lining up right now is to make sure that this body line, I've highlighted it with a piece of soapstone so that I can really eye it up. There's Dan. What's up, Dan?
What's going on?
Yeah, it's Friday night. Dan's gonna work on his hot rod frame. Anyway, sight line this white line on the body line all the way down, and it looks nice. So I'm concerned about that, and I'm concerned about this crown. Those are the two things that are crucial right now. Everything else doesn't matter. Right, buddy? Yeah. All right, well there it is, ladies and gentlemen. We have a coupe door. I know it's a little bit tough to see, but if you kind of squint your eyes and pretend that roof doesn't have that little post there, you can see. There's the 3-window coupe right there. Man, I'm excited. Oh my God. Turned out pretty dang good. I'm really happy with how this door came out. The amount of time I spent fitting this was quite a bit. Like, I spent a lot of time playing with shims and doing, you know, the fit as mint as I could, and then really, once I was happy with the crown, like I showed you with that gauge, all I did was mark it and cut it. That part was easy. But just lining it up and being confident that that door was, you know, as floppy as it is, it has no inner bracing. The only thing welded is the skin. So having those two pieces lined up perfectly before you mark it, that's where all the time is. There's more time in that than there was me tacking it or whatever. So yeah, I just wanted to get to this point. I'm also so stoked on these suicide hinges. Like, this is the rear pillar from the rear door. And so I've attached it now. I just clamped it. There's no bolts in the hinges, but that is going to be our new hinge pillar. Like, how perfect is that? You know, it's the same amount of work either way. If I was to do this to the door and have the hinges on this side still, yeah, the door would be swinging right now, but then I would still have to replace the striker of the back of this door because there's hinges here. I would have had to weld a new back of the door on that has the latches, which I'm just gonna do that on this side now, and I'm gonna have stock handles, and it's gonna look like a stock suicide door Zephyr. And I don't know if I'm the only one geeking out about that, but I think that is so cool. I think it'll be so rad. This door, because the Zephyr, like I've said before, it has no straight lines, so it kind of swoops up here, right? So that back door, being it used to be over there, is actually a little bit shorter. So I'm definitely gonna have to fill in between here. I'm definitely gonna have to add a part of this, you know, door bottom to this running board, like hideaway running board piece, and cut it here, make a new gap. The other thing I'm gonna have to do, because of suicide doors, now the door is gonna open this way. The cut in the bottom of this door, where it meets the fender, that would just hit the fender. So now I'm gonna have to cut it around the fender and have that piece come off with the door. It's another trick, little thing that's gonna get done. I feel like it's gonna be one of those things where somebody's looking at the car, and if they know Zephyrs, they'll notice one thing, then they might notice the next thing, and then they say, whoa, it's a rear suicide, or it's a suicide car, and then those are the little tricks. It's gonna look almost stock, but custom. The other thing I did was I was measuring up the chop, and I brain farted. I took 3.5 inches out of here. I meant to go 3.5 inches vertically, so I am gonna take a little bit more out of there. It is not quite at the level that I was hoping to get it at yet. Like I mentioned before, Menji's Twins Speed Shop on Instagram, they did a 3-inch vertical chop, which is about what I did here. Maybe I didn't quite get a full 3-inch vertically because I only took 3.5 out of that pillar, but now I think I'm gonna take another inch out of the pillar. So maybe 3/4 of an inch vertically, just to bring it down just a little bit more. The windshield's just way too big still. Needs another inch, maybe. 3/4 of an inch, something like that. But yeah, there it is. So excited. Hope you guys are loving this too. Like I said, I'm gonna pick away at this. Obviously, I'm on Christina's car. I just heard that we got some hydraulic cylinders in the mail, so I'm gonna go check that out today. And then hopefully next week we can get that thing bumping. Thanks a lot for watching Make It Kustom, everybody. I really appreciate all the comments, the likes, the subscriptions, the support. It feels awesome just knowing that there's a big community of you guys out there that wants to see Christina and I succeed at doing YouTube and building custom cars and sharing whatever we can on here. So thank you very much for that. And I know a lot of you guys are spreading the love too. I see you guys reposting on Instagram. I see you guys, on Facebook talking about it and tagging people. And I think that's really cool. So thank you all so much for all of that. We did just reload the merch store if you missed out on t-shirts or whatever. So japhandskustoms.com. There's a link in the description. You can check that out. Yeah, this is it. So the next video on the Zephyr, I'm probably gonna do one specifically on how to weld and planish sheet metal like this. So I think that might be the next one. It'll probably come out sometime next week. I'm gonna get the other door brought up to speed. You don't really need to see that. It's the same thing as this. We'll get both doors at this point, and then before we start doing inner bracing, we will make a video on how to weld that and how to try to keep the panel totally flat and planish it out using our planishing hammer. So don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good one.